Fresh off winning the fifth WCHA tournament title in school history, the women's hockey team was awarded the number 4 seed in the NCAA tournament and will host Boston University on Saturday at 2 p.m. at LaBahn Arena. The winner will then advance to the Frozen Four in Minneapolis on March 20th. Head coach Mark Johnson is here. We'll have an opening statement and then take questions.
Thanks, Brian. Certainly had an exciting trip home from Grand Forks last night. The players are extremely excited, and as a coaching staff, it never gets old. And so as the game ended yesterday afternoon and the players are throwing their sticks and gloves up in the air, as a coaching staff, it really puts a smile on your face because, a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment on the players' part, and to see them get rewarded, this weekend with 6 good periods of hockey and a championship trophy at the end of the day. We're certainly proud of their work over the course of the last couple of weeks in our playoffs, and especially for our seniors. Their smiles were, I think, a little bit bigger than everybody else's because they've been through a lot, and they finally got an opportunity to celebrate as champions. So it was a nice opportunity. As we left, that part of the season's over, and now we've got down to 8 teams and an opportunity to play for the national championship. So the focus becomes this week on getting ourselves prepared and ready for BU. Similar to the last 3 opponents we've played, if you're fortunate enough to beat the team, their seasons end, which makes the task a little more challenging and certainly more difficult. But now it comes down to one and done, and if you're fortunate enough to win the next game, which to me the quarterfinal games in the NCAA tournament are probably the most challenging and the most difficult ones to win. So it'll be an exciting Saturday afternoon at LaBahn, and hopefully the people come out and support us.
Rob. When the bracket came out as a whole, what would you describe your reaction to the bracket for the tournament?
I wasn't surprised. There were a lot of things going on Sunday morning with, who's going to win games. And so I think there were 624 possibilities leading into Sunday's championship games throughout the country. And so depending on what Cornell, Bemidji against us, and certainly out east, by the end of the day when all the games were over, things fell pretty much into play, and, the committee made their selection, and the brackets are set up.
Brian?
I suppose some people would like to see a potential matchup for the national title with Wisconsin and Minnesota, but you got to play them at some point potentially if you can get by this one, correct?
Yeah. I mean, it's, for the first time, the CHA team was, their league was, given an automatic qualifier, and our IT earned the right to play in the national championship game. And so, like I say, you're excited, you're in the tournament. Each team that you're going to face is going to be good, and you never get ahead of yourselves. And so the focus for us is on BU, who've been playing very well. Obviously, they just beat the #1 team in the country, BC, who's been up at the top almost the entire season. So obviously they're playing well. They've got some special players, and so that's the focus point. And then when you're done with that game, if you're fortunate enough to win, you get ready for your next opponent. And I'm sure with all the other teams and the coaching staffs, at this time of the year, you look at all the teams that are in the tournament, and like we saw, Saturday up in Grand Forks, you need to play well. If you don't play well, the game can end real quickly and your season can be over. So whoever you're going to play right now is playing well, and of the teams in the tournament, there's a bunch that have a chance to win the national championship. So I think that's what makes it exciting, and everybody's job right now is to try to win that next game and get to Minneapolis.
John?
In your opinion, what has made this team so successful? You don't have the big names like Megan Duggan, Brianna Decker, Alex Rigsby. At least they're not there yet. But is it the even distribution of talent that's really helped this team?
Well, I think this group, you have some good pieces, and I think it starts with our senior class, who went through this process last year. As I mentioned earlier, I was really happy for that group that they got a chance to win a championship yesterday. And so some of the things that they've learned over the course of time from some of the players you just mentioned, they've carried on. And I think, if I put one thing that makes this team special is the chemistry that they have amongst each other and how they get along and how they go about their business on a daily basis. And so, if you have good chemistry, if you have people that are willing to accept roles, come to work every day, try to improve themselves, push each other, you have a chance to become a pretty good hockey team. And, whether you have a superstar or you just have a bunch of good players, if you play as a team and you're united, you have a chance to do something special. And this group, up to this point, has been able to do that.
Rob? It seems in recent years when they put out the brackets, there appears to be an emphasis of trying to have an East versus West championship game. Do you think the way it's played out or the way it's attempted to play out is good for the sport of college women's hockey?
I would say, being on the committee the last 2 years and all the conversations we've had to get to the 8 teams, that really has never been talked about once. It ends up looking that way, but never in the discussions and and trying to put teams in the proper place was that ever addressed by any of the committee members.
Marie Philippe Poulin, what do you think of this young lady? I think you have a little bit of a
We got a
history
little
with
bit
her.
of history there. She's a special player. She's up for the Patty Kazmaier, one of the top 3 finalists. Being a senior, having a couple gold medals in her back pocket with not only the medals, but game-winning goals in each of those contests against myself up in Vancouver, and then last year in the Olympics, scoring the game winner in overtime. So again, if you look at the teams that are in the brackets and the teams that have been successful, the last couple of weekends, it's their senior class that seems to be excelling. And those seniors, similar to what we're seeing on our team, the finish line is there. They see the end of their careers, and for many of them, they don't want them to stop. And so, she being certainly a special player and leading her team and scoring a lot of goals here the last couple of weekends has put her group in position to play for the national tournament.
Anne Renee tied the single-season shutout record with 14 yesterday. She has, coming after Vetter and Rigsby, how does she deal with those comparisons? And as she comes more and more and sees these records the next couple of years, how do you think she deals with that?
She looked pretty relaxed yesterday. I think she had a conversation, if you can have a conversation between the plexiglass with Bucky and the band. And so she seemed to be enjoying herself. And I think, for her, the last probably month and a half, her focus and concentration, has been really high. And I think this past weekend, when she's challenged, as we were challenged as a group, Saturday afternoon going into Grand Forks and playing against a real hot North Dakota team, she accepts that challenge, similar to, maybe Alex last year and Jessie when she was here. As the stakes increase, they seem to focus in a little bit more and are really on top of their game. And she was on top of her game, in the 2 games that we just played.
Andy?
Mark, sticking along those lines, after a while, everybody kind of knew Jessie was pretty special as a goaltender. When Alex came in, she was quite highly touted, and she, in some degree, pushed the bar a little further. Is Anne Renee doing that? Is she pushing the bar a little further than perhaps her 2 predecessors in numbers and in performance and stature?
The answer would be, she's in the process. She's still on the journey. She's just completing, a full first season as far as playing. She was able to play 10 games last year when Alex went down with an injury. And so, her path, I think, is very similar. And, in the next couple of years, as she matures, as she gets exposed to playing with the national team for Canada, I think some of those things can certainly take place.
Pretty certain that every time you've been in here, you've been asked a question about your special teams, the high quality of your penalty kill, and maybe some hiccups with your power play. You need both to move on, one would think. But what do you see? Do you like where one would think you'd like your penalty kill, obviously, but your power play, is it evolving to the point where you think something's going to break out here soon?
Well, we scored a nice power play goal, in game one up there. And so as you look at the power play, some look real ugly at times. Some look pretty good in regards to offensive zone presence, creating scoring opportunities. And others you capitalize on. And so certainly at this time of the year, not only your power play has to come up with timely goals, your penalty kill has to be equal. And, at the end of the day, if your special teams are a little bit better than the other teams, you probably have a better chance at winning. And so for us, we'll continue to work on our power play. Against Bemidji yesterday, again, we didn't score a power play goal, but if you looked at them, most of it was pretty good. They blocked shots. Their goalie played very well yesterday, and so at the end of the day, we didn't score a power play goal, but if you look at it, they were pretty good.
A few years ago when you played BU in the national championship game, I think that was their first appearance on that stage. Did you see that then as a program that was on the rise that was going to be in this NCAA field year after year, and what do you remember from that game, besides obviously winning it?
That was in their home arena. No, that was, okay. Brian's a good coach. He's a friend of mine, and certainly has done a great job, and, been given the resources like we have here at Wisconsin, to build a program. And, he did it very quickly. He's brought in some quality opponents, some quality players. And he's built a real good culture for kids to have success there. And, he's got a great coaching staff, and, has done a great job. And, we played him last year out in Vail in a series that we, had Northeastern and BU out there. So I'm not surprised that, they're in the national tournament. You mentioned a couple of their players. You look at their personnel, and it's got the makings of a good team.
Andy?
Mark, going back to your penalty kill, over the last 29 games, you've killed off 99% of opponent power plays, which one would think is pretty good. What is outside of the goaltender? Who has to play well? Is it blocking shots that you put an emphasis on? Is it just good positioning, good spacing? What are the keys to the performance of those units?
It's all of the above. You have. I think it starts with kids understanding, what the other team's trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, what areas they're trying to take the puck into. And with that hockey sense, that willingness to do some of the things as far as blocking shots, winning face-offs, initially because, the team that's going on the power play gets the face-off in the offensive zone. So if you can do some things, right off the bat, you can create some turnovers and get an icing. And so last key is, as you mentioned, it comes down to your goaltender, and at times they're going to get scoring opportunities. They'll get quality looks, and your goaltender has to be your best penalty killer.
Sarah Nurse had a big weekend this weekend. Was it something you saw coming, or was it just the opportunity that was presented in front of her?
Well, I think for Sarah is just, keep doing what she had been doing, prior to the St. Cloud, series, to finish off the regular season. She had played well. She's created scoring opportunities. She's getting a lot of high looks, and, eventually the puck's going to go in if you continue to get that. And so as we played St. Cloud, and she scored a goal that Sunday afternoon, I think it just sort of relaxed her, and she's been very, very good up to this point, and certainly was a big factor in why we had success this past weekend.
Anything else for Coach? All right. Thanks, Mark.